All right.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to start today. We're going to talk about the Hugh and Mary Lewis Parsons trial.
Do we know she's a Lewis for sure?
Ooh. Now I don't know. I thought she was a Lewis.
Why did I think that was? Well, I think from that one lady. Okay, anyway, I messed with your introduction.
That was my introduction.
I know, I messed with it.
Who's the one lady that says she's not Lewis?
I
Am
think
I
it
wrong?
was our one lady that went in and messed everybody up.
Oh. Any news on her?
No.
We
Not
have.
a
We'll
word.
just tell our audience. Should we tell them briefly? We
Maybe.
won't out her.
Okay.
We went on to Family Search. I went on to Family Search, right? One night just to kind of research.
As one does.
And some nice, wonderful, well-meaning woman having a great Halloween Eve night must have been researching her witches in her line and found Lydia Gilbert, who's Our Lady who was executed as a witch in 1654 in Windsor. It's because they said that the gun went off. She wasn't even there. So this lady had deleted.
And you have to say it was on Halloween night. That
Yes,
this lady, either she had some dirty Diet Coke or I don't know what, but
some good cider and erased our entire line from Thomas Gilbert and Lydia. Took away his wife, his kids, everything. Took him, deleted all those files and added this Lydia chick as his wife. And then
because she said she realized on Halloween night that she has a witch.
Related to a witch.
And wanted to spread the good word.
Yes.
And
she had a great night and good for her.
Yeah, I can understand the excitement. I totally can. What I can't understand is one night of unabashed ancestor hunting can ruin, like we did a whole podcast on who is
Thomas
Sarah
Gilbert.
Who is, and
now it's completely gone. All those people are gone.
Yeah, and if you hadn't been such a good, researcher,
I just happened to be on there.
I mean, but so we found out that Family Search can't really, it almost has to be considered a Wikipedia.
Yes.
Right? Do you think that, or is that saying too much?
No, I think it is. And Ancestry is all. They have a way of letting people just pool maybe ? People as children's and families to be sorted out later. Maybe that's the intent. I don't know. But yeah, she took out, we have no line. We can't trace back that line anymore because Thomas Gilbert had a wife in England, Mary James. He came to America. He had this Lydia wife, no record of children. And then he married Catherine Bliss Chapin, who had 4 kids from Nathaniel Bliss before, but he died. He married her. And I think they had kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we are related through Catherine Chapin Bliss, who has been deleted now as ever being a wife to Thomas. She's gone. She's not married to Thomas Gilbert anymore. It's just Lydia, who we love and we claim her because he married her and Prudence named her daughter after her, and she's the part of the family. Right. But the woman that we actually come from, his third wife, she completely deleted. This Halloween night, spiced Mullen ale.
But
watching.
It kind of shocked me because, we both triangulate our sources. So we're always going to look for the primary source first and a few supporting. And I think anyone now is it's obvious is able to make changes off of a nebulous source
Yeah, and have the
um,
guts to do it.
and have the
Like,
guts.
we've known things doing all this research, been really certain about certain things that are wrong on there.
Mhm.
But I wasn't brave enough. I'll put a note to see, I put a note out, I can't remember who it was. And, but I won't ever delete or change anything.
No, I mean, you see over we talked about Titus Morgan and his
Sure.
we talked about descendants and how they can rewrite a whole history, and in this instance, in one night, one of our grandmothers in our distaff line is gone. She's been cut off from her family, which
Yeah,
is kind of the antithetical to the whole family search, goal, right? Which is to
right,
bring families together. I thought there would be a watchdog there,
right.
So maybe I just don't understand how their system works, but that was kind of I mean, I'm glad it happened because now I know they're a good resource to come up with names, but I'm not going to trust enough to
Oh,
add as a source or be totally sure
right.
that that's right.
Maybe they were hoping it would be more of a social media because there is on Family Search, you
Mm,
can go and you can chat with the person. That's who I chatted with someone once about somebody. Um, and so maybe they are hoping you'll chat and you'll talk about and you'll
yeah,
share information, but the way that it seems like it happens is people just go make changes and then give an explanation. Because her explanation for her changes on every single one was, "I deleted this one." There was no explanation, and
mm-mm, and no source
her
backup
source was a headline from what?
from a a town, I mean, I had come across that article and dismissed it before, because it
Huh?
was written just on a homepage of some local town's, page.
Yeah,
Um,
and it didn't even, it could be it was didn't negate the fact that he had Catherine Bliss as his wife, it just added Lydia as a wife, and so she took away his other wife to put this woman in,
which is
instead of
just and
adding.
it's not really against her because we're all
Mhm.
doing research, it's more against
The
how
software.
do I view family search now? Like, and on one hand, they're market to that they're an archivist resource or they're a researching resource but they can't be if they've got amateurs, which is part of their really cool thing is that anyone can get on and work on your family. Well, you can't have both. You've got to have some kind of a gatekeeper, I hate to say,
Yeah, or they're
to
so proud of.
validate.
Yeah, they have AI helping them out. It seems like AI
Yeah.
could just say, "Hey, you only have one source here," and it could check the source. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where all those old ladies that were so grumpy when we were growing up in the libraries where they've
No.
all gone.
Where have they gone? Grandpa Lark. Our grandpa was the head genealogy guy for our church, and he was at work for NASA. He had the white button-up shirt and the pocket protector and the thick glasses and always chewing wriggly gum, and that was what he did. He was in that genealogy office all the time. I can still smell it. It smells like printed paper and hot machines and things, and, he I would wonder what he would think of Family Search now, you know? Software and everything with what he used to do. It was all printouts and microfiche, and
He'd probably think it was so cool.
he probably would.
Mhm. It is really cool.
It
It's
is cool.
awesome. Like, but there are some you have to pause a little, like, when you tell your Mary Magdalene story.
Oh, that's a okay, so this morning my daughter always sends me texts from school or whatever, and she's doing it really fast because she's not supposed to have her phone at school, so it's always really funny because this misspelling or the auto thing like, once she said, "Can you please execute me?" And it was, "Excuse me," so today I get, "Do we have any ancestry sculptures?" So I'm like, "Ancestors, like, do we have" and, 'cause I know she's in sculpting class right then, so, okay, what does that mean? So she knows she did it wrong, so she said, "Do we have any do are any of our ancestors sculptures?" So I'm like, "Okay, she means do we have any statues of ancestors?" Boy, I hope I remember where I'm going with this story. So I text back, "Yes, actually, we have," and I tell her about, Deacon Samuel Chapin, who is the
Mhm.
statue you saw in Springfield with the hat and the fancy cape, and then I told her about Miles Morgan, who's the predecessor of JP Morgan, and he has a statue in Springfield, and that was really cool. Crap, now I don't remember where I'm going with my story. What were
Mary
you saying?
Magdalene.
Oh, yes, okay, thank you.
It all comes back to Mary Magdalene.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, before I remembered Samuel Chapin and Miles Morgan, I'm like, "Crap, do we have an ancestor?" I'm like, "Well, there's the Christus." Like, because because one
Yeah.
night in my wild, hot cider drinking whatever night, I had gone onto Family Search and just kept clicking expand arrows, right, all the way up, and there's one line that takes us all the way to Mary Magdalene.
That's the mother of all distaffs.
Yes, that's why I texted you guys, all my sisters. "We're related to Mary Magdalene, she's in our line." And it had her parents, had her parents, and then there's Jesus, and it had his parents.
In Family Search, so they've got
Family Search.
Jesus as a son.
Yeah, and we're related, their daughter, Sarah, which whole other season or whatever,
So this
but
whole apocryphal family line?
yes. And so I did Jesus. I'm like, "Well, he's the only" her line didn't keep going, so I'm like, "Expand, expand, expand." We go all the way through Noah and
No way!
yeah, all the way to I can't remember who the very Burr or some yeah.
Wow.
So I don't blame this woman for having a great night. You go for it, that's the whole point. It's fantastic. It's like a real exciting I can just see her just being
It
so
is
excited
exciting, like, finding well, it's what we're doing, we're
what we're doing.
finding our women.
Yeah.
It is
So
exciting.
it is. So I hope she responds to you because it would be cool
Yeah,
to get her what she was thinking and feeling, and
right.
maybe she knows something. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, maybe there's just I asked her, "If you have the sources, please share them," because if she does, that would be great, and, people I always think about the attics in houses, like, when I'm driving on trips and stuff, like, what letters
Oh,
are in there that what books or what that would solve so many family mysteries. You just wish you could shake them all out.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
If you hear us mention a name and you have a letter up in your attic,
Oh my
share
gosh.
it.
Yes. I had the
Yeah.
website's already it's distaffpodcast.com, and there's a place you can email us. We're also distaffpodcast@gmail.com, and if you're have a a person you want us to research or you've done
Mhm.
research or anything to add to it would be huge because that's what we're
Yeah.
trying it's women's tale, it's not Kim and Sarah tell. Weave all of women's history of the whole world. Maybe we are related to maybe we're not Mary Chapin and we are descendants from Lydia.
Well,
Maybe she
yeah,
knows
and if
something.
that's the case, bring it. Bring it. Let's talk about it. Let's show it. That would solve a lot of but what was interesting in looking at her work that she'd done that night is how you can tell that there were she hit walls of certain like which Gilbert is it and same thing we were talking about in the
Mhm.
other podcast, but what it reminded me is when you're researching or verifying evidence, you have to keep an unbiased, like we talked about. You have to go in, you can't go in with an agenda, like, I have a witch, I need to stick her
Yeah,
somewhere. Because
yeah,
I felt like that before when I'm trying to solve ancestral problems. Of, man, it would be so great if this was where she belonged,
yes,
but you won't be open to other sources and stuff or other stories if you just focus on that one goal.
right. Because when you did the Prudence episode, when the trying to find out what's who if she was really if Prudence is Sarah Gilbert, right? We
Right.
had a moment there where we thought Sarah Gilbert is actually Prudence.
Mhm.
And then to go in with that mindset of this woman's not real, Sarah Gilbert's not real. I mean, I was discounting in my head and my notes and things. I was taking kids away from her. I
Mhm.
was putting her in different places with the different husbands. We were getting rid of Joel Jenkins, you
Yeah,
know?
we dumped him over and
Yeah. So I
yeah.
get it. I totally get it. Just pause before you actually start deleting
Yeah.
or reach out and chat. There's all the names of other people that have been working on it, you know?
That is such a good point. I For me even to remember that we're not doing this work alone, like you know, reach out and talk, like, it's been so nice to talk through with you. We because we usually research on our own whatever we want, and then
Yes,
we come
do.
together and we sort of weave it together, and that's been fun because, you know, who else wants to talk for 3 hours about Sarah Gilbert?
That is something to say, though. I guess people need to know that we don't pre-decide what we research at all.
Mm-mm.
Maybe now because we're coming to the end of the season or whatever, we have our last we wanna talk about how we finish it, but we really do come having had kind of the same different maybe a different same bundle, but different threads, and then weaving it back in. So it
Yeah,
is really cool, and it would be cool to do that with a lot of people too, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so my, uh my mother-in-law, I got to talk with her, and she worked for, um she's been doing genealogy. I think I mentioned her before, but she's been doing genealogy for private people for years and years and years. She doesn't do it anymore, but she worked for a big company in Utah before internet and all that stuff was crazy and before Family Search, and people would hire her company to do their genealogy and find their ancestors. So I wanna interview her, but she's being shy, but I know
I
she's
would
listening too, so
love
hello.
to have her come
I know,
on
she's awesome, and
because she
she's
has good
so
stories.
knowledgeable. So she was able to say, like so this is what got me thinking is she's like, "Well, you know, we're related to Thomas Merrick," and she's related to the same Dudley guy that's in Concord, and just Samuel Wright, I think, is her so anyway, I think this has to be a hot pot for lots of different people. This Springfield has
True,
to be.
true.
So, it would be cool to get people to kinda share their stuff and
Yeah, that's a
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, come and talk to us. Come yell at us if you
Yeah,
want.
come yell at us,
Don't
be
just
mad at
yell
us.
into the wind of Family Search and tell all the other people they did it wrong. Just
Yeah. I would let she seems like a cool chick, that
I
lady, Halloween Eve lady. Yeah,
so come
yeah,
on. Bring it,
but
sister.
man, yep. Okay, so do we wanna do Parsons' trial? Get
Yeah,
into it a little bit?
we are coming now. It's the eve of the witches, and
Yeah.
the
So it's our
reason that
own Halloween Eve.
our own Halloween Eve with Diet Coke and
Yes.
cold medicine and all sorts of
Yeah.
accoutrement.
Kitty cat.
Kitty cats?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we last week we finished with the pudding story about Hugh Parsons, And I have to just clarify one thing. I know I keep saying I think he was on this spectrum. I want I guess I need to explain, people that
Mm.
probably
Yeah.
know me would know that that means I would be friends with him. Like, it's not an insult at all. It means that he's probably really cool and interesting, and he
Yes.
would be my friend. I would probably go he would be my friend, I think. So I feel a little protective of him. So
I
maybe
do
I am
too.
coming into this a little biased when we talk about this trial today, because I do feel like I'm giving him a benefit of a doubt automatically just because he just seems funny, kind of,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
quirky,
Mhm.
and somebody that I would maybe not. Maybe if to live with him, maybe not. I don't know.
I just think he was not yeah, they're I mean, you'll tell the stories in it, and they explain, like, the one where he's on the up in the tree with he just
Yes.
doesn't hang with the dudes very well.
No.
He's not a bro dude, he's not a
Mm-mm.
ladies' man.
Mm-mm.
He's just trying to make his bricks and keep his wife from killing or from being sad. But
Yeah.
he also,
He's grumpy
he's
and weird.
grumpy. Yeah, he's grumpy and weird. So anyway, okay,
Okay.
good
So,
disclaimer.
we did the pudding story last week where people but we talked about Mary Parsons, his wife, Mary Lewis Parsons, I hope, his wife, who is depressed, and she's lost a baby already, and um, she I don't know how we wanna go through this.
You just do
went
it. Let it flow.
okay, so when she lost that first baby, she says that that baby came back to her in a, uh one night. The baby came to her. Did you
Oh,
read
okay.
this? And she's
No.
saying that it was the devil disguised as the baby, and got into bed with her, and she cuddled this baby, the
Mhm.
devil in the shape of her baby.
Mhm.
We're getting right into it.
No, that's perfect.
And so that is when she feels like she made a compact with the devil. So throughout all this time in the back of her mind, she is kind of considering herself a witch in the sense that she did have that night where she feels like she gave in to sadness, temptation, and cuddled with the devil all night, basically, as a mother and a child or whatever.
And as this idea of the devil and compacts with the devil, how was that
Okay.
was that someone had a choice in the matter or was just weak like you're saying?
Yeah, so King James, this would have been almost 100 no. This was years before, so King James wasn't the king currently, but he had written that book,
Mhm.
Demonology or whatever. I have it. But it was basically the handbook. So King James himself had felt that King of England he's King James, he's a Protestant king, he was the king of he's Mary Queen of Scots' son, that cool Catholic
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth beheaded. He's Protestant, he was the King of England, so he's James the First, but then after Queen Elizabeth died, he was the only Protestant Tudor lineage, so he became King of England, so he's James the Sixth and the First, so he's 2 things. So that's the same guy.
Okay.
So he was supposed to marry Anne in Denmark, and when she was coming over, her ship got had a big storm, and for him marrying her was gonna seal he needed to have an heir oh my gosh, okay, we'll just see where this goes.
Come
Okay.
on. Let it
King
flow.
James was a Protestant king, and, of course, at the time, there were Catholic wa people that wanted to have a Catholic king, so in the family, if you were the Catholic side, you were trying to get your heir in place. So King James is the king, but he doesn't have an heir, so he has to marry someone super quick. So he has Anne in Denmark. She's supposed to come over on her boat to marry, and they're gonna get pregnant and have an heir, and then that seals the deal for his being his the Tudor line. Well, there are people that don't want this to happen. I think, Bothwell, somebody in
Mm.
Scotland, there's a group that does not want this to happen. So the night she's coming over on the boat, there's a huge storm and she almost drowns. One of the ladies in waiting with all her clothing is on another boat to meet her. That boat, they drown. She actually dies. Like, it was a horrible, terrible night. And he's convinced that was witchcraft because
Oh,
this Bothwell group up in Scotland were kind of witchy and there had been some witch trials. So anyway, James is super, super invested in witchcraft and finding out. And remember, it was his grandpa, essentially King Henry VIII, that had changed the devil as being something that roams the land and is in nature, and he had put it and embodied it into basically women, right?
that's right.
When he reformed the
That's
church,
right.
he took the devil kinda out of this mystical and put it into people, essentially. So, um yeah, so the compact with the devil. So in this book that is on the shelves of all our Puritan reverends and thinkers, and I'm sure there are pamphlets and excerpts. Do you have it?
Yeah,
I
but
have
keep
it too.
going. Keep going.
Um,
I don't think we need it, but
no,
keep going.
this one.
You just happen. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, yes. So,
It's the Demonology of King James the First.
yes. And people are reading this book and he it's so interesting because the way he wrote this book is he's very knowledgeable on shallow things about it. Is the way this person writes. So he's very well read on shallow things, but he hasn't done the work to really read the more in-depth things about religion and witchcraft and really read the scientific papers. He's just reading the way this author describes, he's just read your headlines and your cool stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he doesn't wanna write an informative book. He writes a book where he pretends to be a different character, and then he has another character, a fictional character, and they're having dialogue. So the fictional character will be like, "Tell me about, uh, witch marks." "Oh, I could tell you about witch marks. These are found on the body, and it's where the devil will suckle." "Oh," it's just this kinda goofy dialogue that he's made up to get all his ideas about witchcraft out. And so one of them is the compact with the devil, and it is that, um and he's taking these from confessions of people that were tortured. So none of this is it's all people being tortured, saying, "I'm not a witch, I'm not a witch, I've never done it," and then finally at the end being, "Okay, yes, fine, I sign my name in blood." So yeah, it's a compact with the devil that, um, you you sign with your blood. It's where you vow that you'll get whatever you want in this lifetime, but when you die, your soul will go to the devil. So that's why people that have supposedly done contracts with the devil try to spend the rest of their time trying to find youth or eternal life because 'cause they're afraid to die, you know?
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
um, so yeah. So that was a really long answer to your question about
No, that is
contacts with the devil.
great. I might see what you think about this paragraph from that guy from this book,
Oh, yeah, what page?
page 5, just because it helped me. When you were reminding me, it reminded me, but, he says, "James was a strong believer in the supernatural and the power of magic, but he ascribed all the working of magic to be the devil. He did not recognize what Cornelius Agrippa called natural magic, or what was sometimes termed white magic,
Mhm.
as a lawful activity. The efficacy of herbs and stones was either an inherent part of the composition and so a matter of medicine and science, or it was infused into them by the power of Satan in order to deceive those who used them for healing purposes. For James, there was no such thing as occult forces that could be used for benevolent purposes. Um, and so this guy says the supernatural must have terrified him at least as much as the political intimidations used by the Scottish nobles, which is what you just told us about. You're
So
so smart.
and this is what all our Puritans have. This isn't new by the time we're in Springfield. This has been around because James is dead and gone, but, like, this has been around, they're reading it, and this is just the belief of witchcraft. So in these trials and everything, when they're talking about this, they're not educating people on this. I think people already know
Right. That's a good
about
point.
compacts and yeah, that the, um, the devil can take you can get pregnant from the devil if they use corpse stuff, and so it's wild what they're believing because of this book. The stuff he has them thinking and fearing and believing is just crazy. So, anyway,
Yeah.
um, but so we're talking about so, yeah, so she believed that that's what she did, that to be able to cuddle and hold her what felt like her child, she knew it wasn't her child. She believed she had made a compact with the devil to be able to do that, and then therefore her soul was damned, right? She's just going to hell,
So you're
and
saying she wanted so much to hug her child, she'd accept Satan. Like,
I think so,
yeah, that in her mind, maybe that's what she thought she had come to.
and she's really depressed, and
Mhm.
she has a terrible marriage. She's on these weird pills he's giving her. We don't know, and if you believe that if you make a deal with the devil, you're damned. They already feel like they could be damned anyway. They don't know yet.
Yeah.
Jury's always out, but now she knows for sure. And so she's has no problem. She hates him so much. She hates her husband Hugh so much that when it comes time for his trial and she's has no problem throwing him under the bus and calling him a witch too.
Right.
So, yeah, which is what happens.
But what's ironic is and you're gonna explain, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, is that Hugh was the one blamed first, right? They didn't
Yeah.
blame Mary first.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
that right? Okay.
Hugh
Yeah.
was Hugh was suspected first, right? Because he
Right.
was so weird and there were weird things happening and we could start talking about that. And I think the very first one is sitting in the tree, right?
Well, I guess do you want me to read this guy's introduction of the case to
Sure.
get us started? And then you do your thing? I don't know. I don't know if that's what we want you want.
I can do my thing and you do your thing.
Okay. Well, I could okay, so maybe I'll just read this introduction of Mary Parsons from this book, Witch Hunting, and this is the editor's introduction of this case, one
Mhm.
of the earliest cases. So Mary Parsons executed, we think, and Hugh Parsons. The trial went from 1651 to 1652. Am I stealing your thunder?
Not at all. I have no
Okay.
thunder.
So he states Hugh Parsons earned his living as a brickmaker and wood sawyer in Springfield, Massachusetts. His wife, the former Mary Lewis, whom he married in 1645, accused the widow Marshfield, a newcomer to Springfield, of witchcraft in 1649. Mrs. Parsons was convicted of defamation and whipped. Not long thereafter, she turned on her husband and accused him of practicing witchcraft. He in turn suspected her. Hugh and the town minister, George Moxon, who went back to England with his tail between his legs in
Yeah.
1652.
Case he went back with Pynchon, who maybe they were I'm starting to think there's a lot of lovers in this town too.
There were
Mhm.
a lot. and it
Mhm.
was from that flandeur, the French word of, um, it was kind of a
Oh,
thing. Yeah, it was a thing.
yeah, okay.
Anyway, we can talk about that when we go to our French
When we go
lady.
to Versailles, yes.
Yes. Uh, Moxon had disagreed about Hugh's work as a brickmaker. So that's, you'll talk about this. When two of Moxon's children died, the townspeople reasoned that Hugh was being vengeful. 35 neighbors made depositions before the magistrates. 35 neighbors when there are only 45 households in
Yeah,
Springfield at this time. From their statements, a picture emerges of Hugh Parsons as a testy workman who often quarreled with his employers. Do you want me to finish this
keep
last
going,
one?
I'm gonna make the sun.
The Parsons had two children of their own. One died in 1650, and a second was born in October 1650, but later died in March of the next year. Mrs. Parsons blamed these deaths on her husband, who was attached upon suspicion of witchcraft, which means she made that claim on or about March 1st, 1651, which is the same day their baby died,
Yes,
and who
the second,
underwent
yeah.
two examinations in Springfield. A week or so before her husband, Mary was also accused of witchcraft. But on May 13th, the Massachusetts General Court, which heard capital cases, indicted her for witchcraft. She pleaded not guilty, and the court concurred. And then we can tell you the end of it.
Yeah, the sad
Okay.
ending. Good edit, Kim, okay. Um, so I guess I'll just go through some of the witnesses since we talked about those people. So we talked about the pudding, and that was the Langstons who were being silly one day, and a neighbor gave them the idea, "Well, you know you can conjure up a witch if you make this pudding, you have to cut it a certain way," which the so this they're called into to court for that, right? To testify about the pudding. That's
And
how
what is the court? Is
weird.
that just Pynchon in the meeting house taking
Wait,
notes?
no,
Or is that the,
I think
I mean, originally it was, right?
it's the
Pynchon just,
general court, so that's, Massachusetts General Court, because I
okay,
think they got brought into would it have been Boston or Salem?
Boston, yeah.
Bos and Pynchon was supposed to go, and he didn't show up, right?
And but he sent, eh, yeah, I think that, but he sent, part of the problem was he took their statements, I think, in Springfield and sent them,
Yes, so it
right?
started in Springfield, right.
O
Maybe for all these witnesses, it was done in Springfield. Right. Kinda tricky. Wow, I have, like, some light. Is it my demon book? Something's shining on me. There we go.
You must, the cat's not happy about your demon book.
Okay. I have to let him do his thing or so anyway, um, so these are the things that are being brought up on a murder. Let's remember, witchcraft is a capital offense, so this is about him murder. It's a murder thing.
Yeah, the charge says, "Hugh Parsons, you were attached under suspicion of witchcraft,"
Yeah.
and that
So they're
means,
bringing in people to testify about pudding in a murder trial, right? And they're gonna okay, so first we have the pudding thing, and they testify that, yes, they did the weird reverse witchcraft thing where we cut a piece of the pudding and throw it into the fire, and the smoke will summons the witch in town. The first person to show up is the witch. Well, the first person to show up was Sewell, Bess Sewell, who Mary already called out for being a witch, you know?
oh, yeah.
So but nobody would believe it would be Bess Sewell. So Hugh Parsons later pops his head in the door and he's a witch. Ah! So they're testifying about that. Then Thomas Miller testifies. Here's all this testimony for a murder. This is why I'm like team Hugh, I think a little bit.
Mm.
Testifies that all the workmen were up there in the woods cutting trees, they're having lunch, they're taking a break, and They look so dumb.
He
I
just
was
can't hang. He can't hang.
no, they look up, they're like, "Where's Hugh?" And then they look up and he's, like, way up in a tree just eating his lunch, way up in a tree, which I could see. But also it's funny, I have, like, Twilight Edward,
Yeah.
so he's so that's, during trial testifying that this guy ate his lunch higher up in the tree than everybody else, and so he must be a witch, right? Okay. Um, uh oh, and then during that time, so then everyone's like, "Wow, he's up in this tree, it's so weird," and then at the same pic lunch or whatever, then he says, "Well, then I started talking about the pudding," you know?
To see what
How
he'd say.
and he said that that made him get kinda grumpy when they started bringing up and that meant he's probably a witch too. He didn't like when we talked about the pudding when he's sitting up in the tree. So anyway, and they say that they swore under oath that he was super happy and pleasant, even though he's sitting way up in a tree before they talked about the pudding, but as soon as he talked about the pudding, he got grumpy. What were you gonna say?
Well, it's weird that this Springfield witch trials started with a bunch of men under a tree. Like, it wasn't in the I mean, it didn't all start that way, but that's
It is where the men are they're as into it as
yeah.
they're into it. Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then they have 2 people agree with that. Thomas Burham, mm, he thinks he hears someone whetting saws at night, just sharpening saws at night, which
Ooh.
it could be. I mean, Hugh Parsons is weird, and maybe he has such a busy day.
He's a sar.
Yeah, he is. So he could just have such a busy day, the only time he can do it is at night. But
Yeah.
Thomas Burnham is brought into court to testify that, that he thinks it's Hugh Parsons doing the saws at night, and he says, "I spake to him of it several times and of the whetting of saws on purpose to see what Hugh Parsons would say to it, but still he continued to be silent and would not speak about it." So the fact that he's oh, okay, so yeah, so the fact that he's not admitting to anything means that he's probably guilty. Okay, our guy, George Goodman Munn, who Abigail Burt had to marry. Was really old. She was, like, 20 something, and he's 50. Remember him? Captain Benjamin
Yes.
Munn. We're related to him.
Oh,
Um,
no.
he was in this group. So one night, some people were hanging out, and it was Hugh Parsons, it was, Goodman Munn, I think Abigail was there, Thomas Burnham. They were all talking about it with Hugh, and they started asking him about the saw, and Tom they're talking about the saw, about Hugh Parsons sharpening his saw on the Sabbath, and they're accusing him of being a witch, they're talking about the pudding, they're talking about all this weird, creepy stuff, and our guy, Benjamin Munn, is like, I'm just really upset that anybody would sharpen the saw on the Sabbath." So he's like, that's our guy, he just got out of it. So anyway, it's
So
just
he's
funny.
grumpy too. Why aren't they
He's
calling him
grumpy
a witch?
too, yeah.
I mean,
Blah,
they're
blah,
all
blah,
this fun mystical talk, and he just cares about the saw.
that somebody would sharpen the saw.
Who
So
invited him?
I know. Okay, then we have Blanche Bedortha, she's, like, the number 1 star witness. She has a bunch. She's the one that he had called her a gammer
Oh, yeah.
because Hugh Parsons is over at her house, he was talking to her husband about business stuff, and she had, like, whatever, I would do the same thing. I'm sure she had something really intelligent and important to say, and the men were
Yeah.
upset about her pitching in, and he had whipped around and called her a gammer. I always thought it was gamer, which is funny, but gammer. Um, she was very, very bothered by that and got sick later that night and thought it was him. And then she talked about how she was getting dressed one night and taking off all her, I guess you have lots and lots of layers, and hanging them up over the rope that's by your bed, and she saw a glowing light in her
Hmm?
waistcoat. You know all this too, so chip in, but, kind of a glowworm in her waistcoat, and she said that it was Hugh Parsons had done it somehow.
And she describes it as in the trial, she says she saw a light as if it had been the light of a candle crossing the back of her waistcoat on the inside 3 times, one after another, at which she was amazed.
Yes, and so it must be Hugh Parsons doing it. Yeah, and then she said then she went to bed, and I'm sure she's still like we said last time, she's probably I get frazzled when men or yell at me, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
in the Chick-fil-A line, I had a guy tell me I had no couth.
What? Did you call him a gammer back?
Well, he was cutting in front of me, and so I just kept moving my car forward, and cause I was here first, and, I was grumpy, and so he's in his stupid white minivan sticking his did I already tell you this?
No, I love your story.
Sticking his
Mom
head out of
fight
his window
stories.
with his Dodgers cap and, "You have no couth. You need some couth. You have no couth." And I said, "I have couth. You don't even know me."
You don't know me.
So, anyway, I get what she was flustered,
Wow,
but
what big words at Chick-fil-A
I
drive-thru.
know, I know. So, anyway, um, she said she had a soreness about her heart. That night when she went to bed, she couldn't fall asleep. She had a soreness about her heart, and this soreness increased more and more in 3 places, namely under her left breast and on her left shoulder and in her neck. It sounds like gas,
Yeah.
but she says that what came upon the threatening speeches of Hugh Parsons.
Hmm.
Um, then she has another complaint. She said that her son saw an imaginary dog. Do you remember this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Says my child being about 2 years old and said he saw a dog under the bed.
Said it was a neighbor's dog, but the neighbors don't have a dog. Then he said it was Parsons' dog. But the child's meaning was at first that it was Parsons' dog, um, because Parsons did often come to our house, and the kid called him Lombard. So the kid would get these 2 men confused, and yet Parsons didn't have a dog either, so it must be that Parsons is a witch,
Well,
right?
that's what it's like if you were teaching logic, these fallacious reasonings, like, "But the earnestness of the child, both then and since, doth make me conceive it might be some evil thing from Hugh
Yeah.
Parsons."
It's not that the
Like,
kid can't remember a name and thought he saw a dog
and
under the
he's
bed.
2.
He's 2, yeah. Um, then this is a sad one because Mr. Moxon, he really did have 2 of his daughters die. So the
Yeah.
grief and everything associated with that. But, Hugh Parsons was hired by Reverend Moxon to do his chimney, fix his chimney. But they must have had some kinda dispute over it, right?
Yep.
And Hugh Parsons said something so this comes up in trial too, said something kinda, snippy, and then that later that same week, his daughter got sick with fits, so we're gonna hear a lot about fits,
Yep.
and when he asked her I confess also that when I spake to him of the said bargain, that Hugh said I could not in strictness hold him into the bargain. Oh, but he took it kind of threatening, like he was washing his hands of it a little bit, and then his daughters got sick.
And, as we were talking last week, so this year, this 1650, this, disease was spreading all over New England. So
Oh.
people were getting really sick, and they'd get a fever and then grippings in the bowels,
Oh.
and then they'd die. Um So, I mean, Moxon had a reason to be worried, and that's yeah, so anyway, there was a lot
Interesting.
going on.
Even Hugh gets bowel stuff, and she's gonna blame it on him being a witch.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, Pentecost Matthews, their daughter dies. All their children are dying, so,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's
So
terrible and sad. I mean, terrible and sad, right?
but it's like what you're pointing out is it's strange how they make that leap from, "Oh, this is a bad sickness going around," to, "Oh, it's a witch."
Yeah. Who are we mad at? Who's weird? Oh, it's Hugh Parsons. Okay, so then we have Sarah Edwards. She's the one that lived down in Long Meadow, and Hugh would go there a lot. I didn't realize it in, one of the testimonies of Dorchester saying that Hugh was going down there even after the harvest had brought in, so there was no real reason for him to be working down there, so that's even more showing
Oh,
that he was really camping out down there in the pastures to get away from his home, and his wife, and
yeah.
the babies, and so anyway, he wanted milk from Sarah Edwards, and she said no, and he muttered something when he left, and then her cow started making too yellowish, bloodyish milk, and she knew it was him right away, but she went to Pinchin, and Pinchin said, "Well, cows get sick. Let's see, your cow should get sick pretty soon. That's just the infection that's gonna." Cow never got sick, but the milk stayed bad.
Mm.
Um, and then so the Parsons had, because Hugh Parsons is always trying to make money, so had people come live with them, a husband and his wife, the Dorchesters, Anthony Dorchester, I think his wife's name is Sarah, and they had 4 kids, I think? I don't know.
Yeah,
They had a bunch of kids, and the wife was kinda sickly.
she had consumption.
Yeah, and he's kind of the most important witness, I think, because he lived with them, and he got to see it, and Anthony Dorchester was kind of he's I think he gets it caught up in it. At first, he's kinda anyway, so he gets brought in to testify that his wife was sick.
Mary Lewis, she's dealing with all this stuff going on, um, with as she was getting pregnant, as we're talking about that Hugh thought she should be working, and he was going
Yes,
against that convention of you shouldn't rest, and so they got these boarders in their little small house with a husband, wife, and 4 children, and the wife was always in bed, so that wife's sick, so Mary's gotta take care of her. They're 3-month-old.
and they have their daughter Hannah. Hugh
Mhm.
and Mary have Hannah, and then I think another, maybe not the other baby yet.
Yeah, that baby is 3 months old. Yep,
Oh, okay.
yep.
And I know we're not talking a ton about Mary because I think we have. I mean, really, she's just summed up a depressed, sad, confused woman who also tends to gossip, and doesn't have much of a filter, I think, or she's just really seeking. She has a lot of, yeah.
But I think you're to bring up that idea, I never thought about Anthony Dorchester, but he is the perfect witness because he
Mhm.
could have said, "Mary, Hugh is hard on her, or Mary is mean to
Yeah,
him,"
he kinda ends up a little bit doing that, but so the story is that the men slaughtered a cow, and they all get a part of the cow, and I guess the best part, or the part Hugh really, really wanted, was the tongue of the cow, 'cause it for whatever reason, you would want a tongue of a cow. But Anthony, the guy he's letting his roommate, the family they're living with, Anthony Dorchester got the tongue, and Hugh was envious of it, kinda grumpy. And so the tongue was put in a salt barrel or whatever. That was Hugh's salt barrel because that's his house. So Anthony comes home and he has the tongue. Mary helps him put it in the salt barrel to preserve. And so it just sits there kind of mocking Hugh day to day that that tongue is in the salt barrel. Oops, I just lost my page. So It's Sunday, and everybody's supposed to go to church, and this was a good I think this was a good Sunday for some reason, Mary and Hugh, I think something had happened that had kinda bonded them back together.
Yep, I think
So
that's what it was.
they were walking so they all went to church except for the sick wife. Sarah Anthony's sick wife stays home, and the husband, Anthony, says, "Well, I think it would be great to have something good to eat when we come home from church." So he puts the kettle on over the fire, fills it with water, and gets the tongue out of the salt and puts it in the pot, and his wife is there. It's gonna simmer while they're at 8 hours of church or whatever, you know? And, and then he says, like, I just think it'll be so great to come home, and I'll have the smell of the tongue, and my wife will be able to eat it, and it'll nourish her." And so they all leave the church, and he's walking first. Hugh and Mary and Hannah walk out, and then Anthony and his daughters walk out, leaving the wife. And he describes that they were walking to church, and Hugh lifts his daughter and puts her on his shoulders, and he's talking to Mary, and he said they seemed like it was a nice moment. This is what he testifies. Um, but then during church, he notices Hugh slip out of church, which I'm sure Hugh slipped out. They
Yeah.
all are slipping out of church, you know.
Or even the guy, like, getting caught for doing naughty things on the side of
Samuel Terry
yeah. Anyway,
had to have a master of his domain moment
yeah.
at the side of the church one day. Anyway, it's a moving sermon,
Yeah.
but
You're a little lascivious
I
today.
know I am. I got my Diet Coke early. But anyway, I have kids home now too. So Hugh Parsons slips out of church, and Anthony notices it. He doesn't think much of it. And then Hugh Parsons comes back to church, and then they all walk home from church, and the door opens, and it smells so good, but it's not for me, Hugh and Mary. They're not gonna share the meal, so Hugh has to walk into his own home after church, smell this delicious meal that's cooking with his tongue, beef tongue. He's not gonna get to eat it, and Hugh's gone. He disappears again, and Anthony goes to get the tongue out of the soup, and it's gone. This is a long story. Hugh probably stole the beef tongue, and do you think he did? He swears he didn't. They asked him, he said, "No, he didn't." He says he desired the root of the tongue, but said he is as ignorant as the child unborn with where it went. I don't think he lies. I don't know.
I don't think he lies. I think if he was gonna lie, he would be silent because people
Mhm, mhm.
mostly accuse him of being silent.
Right. But he said that absolutely no, he didn't do it. And so even, and I have, but it was taken away by witchcraft. So they're not even saying that because the wife didn't see anyone come in. The tongue was just gone.
Maybe the wife ate it.
Maybe she did, but she swears like, "No, he never came in." So then they're like, "Okay, then it was witchcraft,
Yeah, of course.
and it was Hugh Parsons."
Few persons
Yeah.
with
Okay, so
the
then
wit.
Griffin Jones comes in. He says that he also snuck out of church one Sunday and went to go eat, and he sat down to eat, and he couldn't find any knives to use for his bread. And so he had to pick one up off the floor, a rusty old one off the floor that's used for leather, I can only imagine, and I hope he cleaned it off, and he cut his bread with that. And then when he got up to do something he went out to get his tobacco, he came back into his table, and there were 3 knives set out on the table.
That's weird. I might think that's witchcraft.
And he says, "Then who came in but Hugh Parsons came in." And he said, "Are you ready to go to meeting?" And I said, I've just taken a pipe of tobacco." So he stayed and sat with me and took some tobacco. So Hugh Parsons walks in, like, "You ready to go to church?" "Oh, no, you're gonna have some Smoke? I'll smoke with you for a minute." And then Hugh answers to this. He says, "He's ignorant of any such thing in the sight of God." He denies that too. So then, of course, that's witchcraft and it's Hugh Parsons. Yeah.
He thought he was just hanging out with a guy friend, smoking.
Yes. So then Mary Parsons is up there and she says that her husband doesn't like anyone to talk bad about witches, which maybe he just doesn't want anyone to talk bad about
He
people.
thinks it's a stupid topic.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about your saw.
Yeah, so when she would talk about Marshfield, I'm sure he was like, "Can you just not gossip about she's probably not a witch." But she thinks that that's a sign of him being a witch. He was just tired of the whole thing, understandably.
That's their baby, right? And that's where it gets his reaction, right?
Yeah, so when Mary upon the death of my child, um, she she believed that he had caused it, the death of that child. And now we're talking about so they had lost a child. I think this is now we're talking about yes. So this is the so she they did have a child that died. Then she had a new baby, George, a little baby boy who never looked well and healthy. All the neighbors testify that every time they saw him, he just looked shriveled and sickly. Um, and that when this child died, she blamed him for it and that he didn't express any sorrow.
Mhm.
Um,
Aunt Bedortha said on oath that she was at Hugh Parsons' house when he came from Longmeadow after hearing that his child had died, and she says he showed no kind of sorrow for the death of his child.
yeah,
And Hugh said when his child was sick and like to die, he had run barefoot and bare-legged and with tears, to Goody Cooley. So he's
yeah.
trying to find a
So the
witness.
Coolies are the only ones that will testify that they ever saw him show emotion when the child was sick. So there was a time when there was hope, and so he had run next door in the middle of the night barefoot to get help from Cooley, which is interesting, Benjamin Cooley's wife. Um, and so they had seen that emotion, but when the baby actually died, he was down in Longmeadow, and someone came to him and told him that his child was dead, I think, and no expression. And then he didn't run back home. He actually took tobacco and with George Colton
Mm,
and just kinda nonchalantly went back home and didn't have any real emotion about the sick child. And that was a lot of testimony on his lack of oh, it was Jonathan Burt who had been down in Longmeadow and testified that, he was not affected by it. He came after a light manner rushing to my house, and I said, "I hear my" and said, "I hear my child is dead." So he did rush to Jonathan Burt's house, said, "I just heard my child is dead, but he has to walk, what, 5 miles back home or whatever. I'm just gonna have some tobacco first before I go home." And Hugh's answer was is that, "I mourn in private, I don't mourn in public."
right, right. And that he didn't wanna worry her more or something. Didn't he say that at some point?
Yeah, um yeah, I don't have where that is though, but yeah, he's that's more of the reason why I think he's just a very serious, uh, different man than these men.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they asked Mary Parsons why she thought he was a witch, and she gives 4 reasons.
Hmm.
Um, she said that I would tell my friends things secretly.
Like he has friends.
Yeah, she'd go around town and have these gossip sessions. And then she would be and she would I would tell my friends secretly, but then he would know it. She said, "I have spoken some things to Mrs. Smith that goes a little abroad, and I'm sure would not speak of it yet. So I told stuff to Mrs. Smith, and she wouldn't tell anyone. She promised she wouldn't tell, but he knew it as soon as I came home." So, secondly, because he stays out late at night, and this is him sleeping at Longmeadow, right?
Mhm.
And there are Dorchester or someone does talk about how she would always be by the window waiting for him to come home. So she hated that.
And she's the one Mary Lewis saw strange figures out in the
Yes,
window well or whatever,
yes. Yeah,
light
she was
hovering.
spooky chick.
Yeah.
Um, she says, he doesn't come home till midnight, and about half an hour before he does come home, I hear some noise or other things around the house. So she thinks he's haunting her basically or spooking her.
Specters.
Thirdly, she says, because I cannot tell how to please him.
Okay.
Um,
Aw.
so she just doesn't know how to she can't track his moods, his you
And
know.
Dorchester, I think he did testify that Hugh has some pretty mercurial
Mm,
mood swings.
mhm,
So
yep. And then this one I love, because sometimes in his sleep, he makes gabbling noises. He snore. So he's a witch.
well, he's a witch. He doesn't need a CPAP machine.
Yeah,
He's
that's right.
just
She says, "I cannot understand one word he makes when he talks in his sleep." And, he had strange dreams, and one time he said that the devil and he were fighting, and the devil had almost overcome him, but he
Hmm.
got the master of the devil, so he's having weird which of course he is.
Well, and she's talking about witches all the time. Yeah. And it's interesting that in Lewis, she said she couldn't overcome the devil. She gave into it with sleeping with her baby, but Hugh overcame it,
Interesting,
which is
yes.
weird.
Mhm. I mean, all these people are having confrontations with the devil, I think,
Yeah.
whatever their devil is.
Well, in the preaching, the sermons, the devil is everywhere.
Yeah. So a weird dog, a weird yeah. So then there's a big long part. Anthony Dorchester does testify, and it basically he does start by saying kind of that it's not such a big deal, but by the end of his testimony, all the questioning and everything has kind of made him be like, oh, maybe he is a witch. So even the one person maybe that could have helped him out. So then you start having these random Pepper. Um,
I mean, it's like everyone lined up to blame the witch.
yeah. So he said that he thought that he had cursed the cow. One of the things Mary also said about why she thinks he was a witch is because everything he touched went wrong. He had bad luck. I mean, jobs went wrong. Everything he
Yeah.
touched went wrong was there's a quote, but so he someone's cow, they blame the cow on him.
Mhm.
Someone loses their trowel, John Lombard misses his shovel, they blame it on Hugh Parsons.
Mhm.
Thomas Merrick, can't remember. Oh, he got a really bad stomach ache, which is like what you're saying, there's that thing going
Mhm.
around. He thought it was from him. Um, Mary Parsons finally does kinda lose it, and she talking about confessing that, again, she's a witch, she's had meetings with witches, she can know a witch. She names Bess Sewell, that's the pudding lady,
Mhm.
and Goodman Stebbins, that they can shapeshift.
Right, it's
Um,
crazy.
when Hugh is told that his wife is actually the main accuser. Oh, he has some good quote. Or that his wife is accusing him of a witch, and does he wanna accuse her of a witch? There's definitely witchcraft happening in their family, and his response is kinda like, "Well, maybe there's something happening, but we gotta make sure we put the saddle on the right horse." You know? Is kind of his response. Like, "Okay, there's something weird, yes, but you let's make sure we put it on the right horse." That's
Hmm.
kind of the closest he ever gets to
Right.
accusing her, I think. Okay, so then John Taylor is in the over at I've told this about this too. I think it's Sarah Merrick or Hannah Merrick,
Mhm.
Thomas Merrick's wife, and he can't get the plug out of the beer barrel.
Mhm.
Can't get it out, can't get it out. She says, "I can get it out." And he says, "Well, if you can get it out, you're a witch." And she uses her finger, little well, She fetches it out with her little finger, basically, and so they joke about her being a witch. She's not ever accused by
And
him
why
of
are
being a
they
witch.
allowed to joke?
This is Jonathan Taylor. He's the guy that has snakes crawl up, and he blames it.
Oh,
He's
he's got
super freaky.
issues.
Yeah, and Merrick is she's called out by Mary for being a witch, but probably because she heard this story or whatever.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I think they're joking about it too. I think the pudding thing was a funny I picture it as just a funny wild night or whatever.
Yeah, like trying to vent off some steam or
Yeah.
something.
So Jonathan Taylor, the same guy, he also then has a dream or a vision or something where snakes crawl up his bed and hurt his stomach, and he blames that on Parsons. He's 3 snakes. Then Mary explains it. She's like, "John Taylor, he saw those 3 snakes in his dream. I can tell you what that means. Those are the 3 witches. One was my husband." And they're like, "Well, who are the other 2?" And she's, "Well, you know."
Well, so she's an oracle now. At her own witch trial, she's divining things.
Mhm. Which is common, which is the Salem witch trial, which we'll talk about. People did figure out that if you confess to being a witch, you weren't gonna get hung. But then you had to
Oh.
share stuff, and so people would make things up, but I think she was just crazy. Then we have the pudding, more people are called in about the pudding. Then we have Widow Marshfield, who hates Mary Parsons. She herself had been accused of being a witch by Hugh's wife, Mary. He had owed her a debt of corn for that slander case. When he went to pay it back to her, he didn't have enough. He puts it at her doorstep. She says, "I want my full amount." He says, "Well, it's not gonna do you any good anyway." Kinda curses her a little bit as he walks away, so she takes that as a cursing.
Yep.
Thomas Miller's wife has fits. Sarah Miller's fits. Anne Stebbings has fits.
And that's what I think in Salem we'll talk about, but they're fits. There seem to be
Fits.
different types of fits.
Mhm.
Fits that come every month and everyone ignores it till they she comes back to herself, and then there's other fit.
Yeah, there's lots of fits. Simon Beeman had his horse startled one night. He thought that was Hugh. William Branch had a little boy, a vision of a little boy come to him. He thought that was then he got like a anytime they get a sickness or anything, they think it's
What's interesting to me, again, in Springfield is how you get to hear there's as many men as women, making these leaps of judgment. My trowel is missing, it's a witch. No?
so then the sad things happen, right? Mary is accused of witchcraft. Is she in jail, though, for witchcraft when she has
So
the baby?
that's a good question. Normally, in England, the minute you are accused of a witch, you're in jail. I know Mary, they were watching her, right? There were people in charge of watching her.
Yeah, and Hugh had to go to Merrick's house to sit there too, and then they all went to Boston. So, um, should we tell Mary's end of Mary or end of Hugh? Which one is more dramatic?
Which one came first?
That's the thing I can't remember. Well, Mary. So, she was accused of being a witch, that was not she confessed of it, so she wasn't jailed for that. But then during her confession, she admitted that she had killed her baby. She
Yeah,
admits to murdering her baby, which I think is probably exactly what happened.
and
And s
yes,
yeah,
and that was happening quite a bit. That's
yes.
why I remember when Abigail or, Mary Burt was told to keep your child.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And this was, um you can speculate why. Did she wanna have blame Hugh? Did she want the drama and the attention? Did she maybe not? But she confesses to it, so she does go to jail for that, and
Mhm.
that's why when you see the question mark, was she executed or not, there's a question mark by it because she did die in jail, and so people aren't when they found out she had killed her baby, it's the question, someone kill her in
Yeah.
jail, or did she die naturally in jail?
Oh, the
But
jails were horrible.
yeah.
A lot of the people accused of witchcraft in New England died before there. That's why it when you get to Salem, aren't they hanging them the same day? Like, there's no lag time.
They there are it depends, 'cause
I could have that wrong.
they a lot of them, like, some of them did sit in jail for a long, long time, 'cause I think they did executions on a set time. So,
Right.
depending on when you got accused, or so she probably was sitting there for a long time, and yeah, so sad, and then she died. Hugh was acquitted for being a witch. Not acquitted, I think he served a year in jail. And now remember, this whole time, they actually do have a living daughter, Hannah, their
Yeah.
firstborn. So
Yeah.
she went through all of this,
Yep.
saw all of this. She's old enough to remember this. So after he's out of jail, he takes her and they move, they think, to Portsmouth.
Mhm.
It's Portsmouth. I ha Not New
I
Haven,
think it is.
Portsmouth.
Mhm.
And he meets a widow with children. She's wealthy. She's the daughter
Oh,
of a ship captain that was part of Winthrop's fleet, so he's she has a good name, she's from a good family, marries her, and loves that woman's kids and gets to raise a family, and lives happily ever after.
wow.
Mhm. So, interesting.
Which is interesting because that town accepted him. It's weird how he wasn't accepted in Springfield,
Yes.
but that town let him come in even though he was accused of being a witch and married to a witch.
Yeah. He had a great, fine, normal life after that, as soon as he left Springfield. He got his dream, got his happy family, got his money.
So you have to wonder, was it Springfield or was it Hugh?
I don't know, 'cause if everything he touched turned to crap, he didn't that didn't
Yeah.
hold up out of Springfield, right?
Well, and it's interesting that trial. You think about what the neighbors would have felt like when it got so real that they dragged them both off to Boston
For
and
sure.
never came back and, married. They killed their neighbor.
Yeah. And remember, this is right. I do think Pynchon was supposed to go to Boston with him, and he didn't.
No,
And
he
this was
didn't.
probably like, just, I'm outta here."
Well, in fact, his trial for the book he wrote was on the same week
That's right.
as Mary Parsons' trial. He didn't even show up to his own trial. And part of why Hugh got acquitted was because Pynchon didn't make sure that people came in real life. So they read their statements in court, but the Boston people who are a little more educated, they're like,
Right. They
"What
probably were
what
laughing.
we're talking about pudding and we're talking about da da da," and, like small town people. So that was one of the things that interested me is how in a village you could drum up. Well, okay, so in Windsor and Hartford down the road, we know about those towns. They were actually executing witches first
Mhm.
before Springfield. And what's interesting to me, because they were Connecticut, I guess, they didn't go to Boston. So the court system in Massachusetts was you try them first in your village, then they take the Bay Path or however they get to Boston, they sit in jail there and they're tried by a higher court.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the witch trials in Massachusetts didn't end right with executions because,
They had a higher court. Yeah, more I mean, you had Harvard already had been established. You
mhm,
had learning, scholarly. I think you had the Winthrop alchemist influence happening, and you're right, in Windsor, they all went to Hartford.
so in fact, Simon Beeman married that a lady had been executed in one of the first ladies killed in New England was, in Hartford, 1647. She was probably a healer, Alice Young. Influenza was going on there, so there was sickness just like Springfield. Marshfield was living there.
Huh?
They executed this woman named Alice Young who had a daughter who ends up a few years later marrying Simon Beeman, marries the daughter of a witch. And
And he just
Simon,
testified that
yes.
his horse had been startled, and so it must have been a witch.
And he was so gung ho. He was one of the only Springfield people that walked the Bay Path and showed up at court to
Oh,
testify.
yeah. See, that's why I think it was a thing for him.
Isn't
It was
that
a
weird?
cause. Mhm.
Yeah. So the one tender mercy, I guess, about Massachusetts is that you had a chance of it being appealed. The people down the river, because they were Connecticut, they the town would try them and execute them the same day. Like everyone would tromp over to the elm tree on Acorn Street or
Yes.
whatever
Right.
and hang her,
Yeah.
which is what we're going to talk about soon.
Which is gonna be different because Salem, you know, Salem was under the jurisdiction of Boston, but they also had their own it was a big enough place that they didn't ship people right over to Boston. They
Oh,
shipped them Salem Village people shipped them to Salem town,
interesting. Yeah. So
so it was
that
a
was a little
problem.
different. And it was a few years later.
Yeah, and I think that the John Winthrop Jr. was gone by then, and that was your voice of reason on,
Right.
"No, this is not don't" like, James's book is that's not the handbook on witchcraft or
Yeah. So, I
yeah.
mean, imagine living in that world where if your pudding came out wrong,
Yeah,
you can't blame yourself, you can't blame the humidity, you gotta blame
blame a witch.
your neighbor.
Yeah, and then yeah, you're right, we'll talk about this too, just that feeling of, "Oh my gosh, we just executed" 'cause in this James's demonology book, it's, if you have a cat, that's you capital punishment for having a cat, a pet, a familiar, because that's witchcraft. I mean, it was just these people were so everything. If you wanted, if you chose, obviously they could choose because we saw people also having things that could have been people playing cards, fornication could be witchcraft, everything.
Yeah.
Having a baby out of marriage could have been witchcraft.
Mhm.
So it was a choice. There's a
Mhm.
case we can talk about where a woman she got pregnant, she aborted the baby, so but she was so poor that they just called her a witch. They didn't wanna deal with so
Well, I mean, that becomes that default that it became in England where it was, um, you've got some problems and it was easy for the church and those in power
Mhm.
to assign blame to a witch or a woman or lesser someone not with as much power.
Yeah. Yep,
And but
totally.
then they kill them.
They
I mean,
killed them
how savage is that? Like, if you look at through the Agawam perspective, I mean, every culture had their own stuff going on, but
to kill them, killing mothers
mothers
and
and
grandmothers and
yeah, hanging them and everyone came and watched. I mean, they really were you know, if they were really into devil and sin, they were sinning on a major scale, judging others and casting the first
but they
stone
had
on
been
each other.
told that it was okay, and it was part of the religion and the church. Mhm. Yeah, interesting. Okay, we did it. Right?
Okay.
You feel
Yes,
like it?
yes, good job, Sarah.
Okay.
You got us through it.
Got
Okay,
through Parsons' trial.
so we are into the witches now.
Yes.
Next time, we are going to talk about other witches.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Salem, right? Is that what
Yep,
we're doing and filling it in with our other witches?
yep.
And by witches, we mean people accused of witchcraft,
And that we
right?
are related to, so they're just
Yeah,
accused.
right.
It's just pudding, guys. Okay.
Great.
All right,
Well,
good
good.
job. Okay,
Hey,
we
and
did it.
again, please email. Oh, something I did different. So in the show notes, we're putting our sources, but now our sources are so long that if you go to our website, distaffpodcast.com, all our sources are there too for every episode.
Good
So
job. Sarah's the IT lady.
We'll see, and then comment
Yeah.
on or email. I think our comments aren't turned on right now, actually, but email
Okay.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Yay.
Good job.
Okay, love you.
Okay, love you
Bye.
too. Bye.